Getting the finished product of a game takes time, and sometimes the first draft of any project won't be the one that we get in the end. Today we're going to take a look at some games that have evolved over their development to become what they are today, from prototype to polished. Bruh. Here's some footage of an early version of Cyberpunk. There's a few saying that this footage is from 2013, but I can't seem to find a confirmed source for that. But anyhow, it looks like at one point you could play in third person, and it drastically looks different. Then of course we also have the trailer from 2013, and it still feels like a different game. Things like the cop's uniform look different, and so does the logo, and by the time we got the 2018 gameplay footage, that looks a lot closer to the game that we got. But there appeared to be a video that leaked internally, made by some of the developers at CD Projekt, which showcased some funny bugs in the game. So in the video we got to see some early builds of the game as well. Former senior game artist Jonathan Gwynn, who worked on some of GTA 5's countryside locations, shared some screenshots of the beta, and for the most part the game appears to be similar to the finished product, with some minute differences. We also saw the original HUD and wheel, and the icons for Radio Los Santos, Solwax FM, and West Coast all look different, and from what we have now, the minimap at the time remains similar to the one from GTA 4. Apparently there were also horses meant to be in the game, which would make sense now why there's a racetrack near the casino. Originally, when you paused the game, you were going to see pictures of Los Santos and Blaine County in this art style, made by lead graphic artist Steve Walsh, who also worked on some former GTA games. There was also supposed to be a 90s radio rock station called Pre-Millennium that never made it. Here it is. The first version of Minecraft. It's pretty simple. All you could do was break and place blocks. These textures came from a past game Notch was working on called Rugby Dung, a game that was never made. And this version of Minecraft is called Pre-Classic. It only lasted a week before we would get Classic. And a few versions later, we would get the Steve Mob, which was taken from another game Notch was working on at the time called Zombie Town. And that game was taken from another game that Notch worked on called Left 4K Dead, a game that was made for a contest hosted by Java, where you basically had to make a game that was under 4 kilobytes big. That's so small. But yeah, no mobs, no mining, no crafting. That's it. As the Nintendo 64 was just over the horizon, designer and director Masahiro Sakurai was teaching himself how to make 3D games. One of the games that he pitched to Nintendo was a 4-player fighting game at the time called Dragon King. Unlike most fighting games at the time, Sakurai wanted for the game to focus more on skill than knowledge on combo moves. This is what created the accumulated damage system, which stood out from those fighting games that focused more on combo moves. He also wanted to use Nintendo characters instead of making his own, because in the 90s, if you weren't that familiar with the lore of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, choosing a character based on skill is kind of hard if you don't know anything about them. Nintendo characters are unique and iconic enough that you should know what you're getting into. Obviously, initially the execs were very against having Nintendo characters hit each other, but I guess they gave it a shot. Originally, Fortnite was going to be a zombie game where you could also build stuff. It was first teased back in 2011 at the VGA Awards as Fortnite, and it looked like this. The art style was similar, but it still wasn't there yet. It would take 6 years for the game to release, and so it did in 2017, and it got over 500,000 pre-orders. The original game mode was to survive a zombie apocalypse where you could also build structures. But then in mid-2017, as Battle Royale was becoming a thing, it was added to Fortnite, which blew the thing up even more. Today there's tons of different game modes to play. Originally, Breath of the Wild was announced back in 2014 as Legend of Zelda Wii U, and this trailer showed us a glimpse of the game. No, Fiji Ominua was not in the game, but we do eventually see that it basically is the exact game we got in the end. The game was supposed to come out in 2015, but it was delayed for 2016, and then delayed again to release with the Switch. We were supposed to get a Legend of Zelda Wii U game back in like 2012. The design back then was supposed to look realistic instead of this minimal hand-drawn style look, but I think in order to make that open world game, they had to sacrifice the graphics. So they went for the minimal style so the graphics still look good. And before releasing, this proof of concept was made to help the team better work on the actual version of the game. I wish they released this as like a little bonus. The idea of Portal started all the way back in 2005, after Valve was introduced to a game called Narbacular Drop, which was made by Kim Swift and some fellow students at the DigiPen Institute. It was a game that used portals to solve puzzles. Gabe Newell hired the students to work on a game based off this one, and that's how we got Portal. But there was a version of the game made before 2006, called Nova Prospect. This Portal concept looks way different from the finished product we know today. It's not as clean and liminal, and it has a lot of Half-Life elements in it. But eventually, Portal became its own game, with its own visuals, but it still shares the same universe with Half-Life. So yeah, those were a few games that have changed a lot, or barely, since before their completion. Was there any game that stood out to you? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and that's it.